welcome to our EPIC TA webinar. This week we have a few agenda items we're going to be covering, and we have some of our CBOs who are going to be presenting on their programs in EPIC. Dee will be joining us. She should be in here any minute now. So we'll go ahead and get started looking at our dashboard numbers. Now that we have the new cohort up and running, we have a few new rows in the dashboard, as you all know, that we need you all to be keeping an eye on and monitoring. So our first dashboard row item is the new cohort invitations pending. We have a couple customers that are sitting in there. Calumet Park, Mid-South, Northwest, West Suburban, Western, East St. Louis, Marion, Mount Vernon, and Murfreesboro have a few customers to take a look at. We also have a couple that are a past due, so these customers need followed up with as soon as possible. That way we can get them back to the CBO so they can get started with going through the assessment and getting enrolled in their training programs. For the offices that have past due invitations sitting out there, we have Mid-South, North Side, Roseland, Southeast, West Suburban, Woodlawn, Quincy. So please make sure you're taking a look at those people and getting them cleaned up as soon as possible and sent back to the CBO. For our next dashboard item, we have eligibility pending. It looks like we only have a few customers in there. We have one at Northwest and 3 at East St. Louis. We have a couple whose eligibility is past due. So you guys have acknowledged the invite, but we have not provided the CBO with the eligibility update for the customer within the 12 days required. We only have 6 customers sitting in that row. We have 1 at Northwest, 1 at Roseland, and 4 at East St. Louis. We have a couple customers who need an appointment scheduled, so they're either going through re-engagement or they could be in with the new invite, the new cohort customers, and need appointments scheduled with the CBOs. So we want to make sure we're getting them scheduled as soon as possible so they're not sitting in the row for too long and we can get them back and engaged with the CBO. We have 4 at Inglewood, 1 at Northern, 2 at South Loop, and 1 at Quincy. We have quite a few customers in the appointment not scheduled past due row. So these customers really need to be scheduled with the CBO as soon as possible. We have 2 at Northside, 2 at Roseland, 2 at Southwest, 2 at Southeast, and 1 at West Suburban.
And if you guys are having a problem with getting appointments, please call me or Olivia so that we can work to get appointments on there for you. I do know that the office in East St. Louis is worried about, not East St. Louis, I'm sorry, down in Southern Illinois at Mantricon. They're worried about the approvals of some of these people because they have a class that is starting in 2 weeks, and they're afraid that the eligibility is not going to be verified in time. So if you're on the call from one of those Southern Illinois offices that deal with Mantricon, we need you to get those verifications done, either positively or negatively.
Alrighty, so for our next row, we have referral pending, appointment not scheduled. We have a lot of customers sitting in that row. So we need to go in and either, if they don't need scheduled with a CBO, maybe they're exempt and they don't want to participate, or they're not SNAP eligible, we need you guys to go in and update those statuses to the accurate statuses. If they are eligible, we need to get an appointment scheduled for them right away. We have a lot of customers sitting in this row, so we really need to focus on getting this row cleaned up.
And we cleaned quite a few out of there by changing the eligibility on many of those customers. So this is the final count.
And so we have Calumet Park, Inglewood, Humboldt, Lower North, Mid-South, North Side, Northwest, Roseland, South Loop, South Suburban, Southeast, West Suburban, Western, Woodlawn, Rockford, Quincy, Chester, East St. Louis, and Marion. So we have quite a few offices that have numbers or customers in those rows. So just make sure you're getting them taken care of. I think I apologize. I accidentally switched over to the next column. Quincy does not have one, and neither does Chester. East St. Louis, Marion, Mount Vernon, and Murfreesboro do. And then we also have for our next row customers who were no-shows for their CBO intake appointment. Those customers need to be put through conciliation by DHS. We have a good amount of customers sitting in these rows. We know that you guys have a process you go through to get them called in, so we don't expect customers to be cleaned up the day after they go in this row. We just want to make sure they're not sitting in here for prolonged periods of time because they are not doing anything at all with this CBO. And to meet the policy, they need to go through conciliation. So we have Calumet. I'm sorry, what did you say, Dee?
In 30 days.
In 30 days, yeah. So we have Calumet Park, Inglewood, Humboldt Park, Humboldt Park, and then we have Mid-South, Northern, North Side, Northwest, Roseland, South Loop, South Suburban, and Southeast. Then we have West Suburban, Western, and Woodlawn, Quincy, Chester, East St. Louis, and Marion.
Now, one thing with these customers that are no-shows, if they are voluntary customers and you find out that they no longer want to participate, we have the new eligibility status that I'm going to demonstrate in just a few minutes. So if you need to mark those customers with this new eligibility status, you can do that. Yes, yes, you do need to complete staffings for the new cohort participants.
Our next column that we're looking at is referral rejected customers, and Dee went ahead and put in all the customers' other participant ID numbers for any customers that need taken care of in that row. We will be sending these minutes out as we always do, so you'll be able to directly pull those specific customers that are listed. We have one at Humboldt, one at Northern, one at South Loop, one at South Suburban, 5 at West Suburban, and 1 at Marion.
And these customers need some sort of action. A couple of them had a pending appointment. I think one was for yesterday. Some of them have had no case notes noted in there, so we do need to update the EPIC file so that we know what's going on. Again, if these customers are not going to participate, we can use this new eligibility status that I'm going to demonstrate momentarily. But we need some action taken on these customers. And if it's just a case note to let us know that you have an appointment scheduled, I just need that added in there so that you don't have these customers in your row moving forward.
Awesome. Our next row is customers who've been marked with the status of not appropriate on their 2151A. They only do this when they are informed by DHS during the staffing that this customer is no longer appropriate for their training program. We only have one customer in there with Northwest. And then we have a couple customers that have been recommended for sanction by the CBOs. We have 2 at Mid-South, 1 at Northwest, 1 at South Loop, and 5 at East St. Louis. So just make sure you're getting those customers called in to do their sanction. Do we have any questions at all on any of the dashboard numbers, or if you guys have any questions that may relate specifically to any dashboard things you've run into?
All right. EPIC currently doesn't allow DHS to place a case note for new cohort participants if they fail to make their appointment with DHS on a reverse referral. I have 3 clients that are stuck in the referral pending appointment not scheduled because either they failed to come in and have their eligibility determined. David, call me after we're done here, and we can talk about those 3 particular clients. Call the home office number. I'll type that into the chat pod. Okay.
Do we have any other dashboard questions?
Somebody's got a question about other down here. If you want to type in what that question's about, if you haven't already, while I'm opening up my screen. Olivia, do you want to talk about the re-engagement, or do you want to pull up your screen, or do you want me to just pull up my screen?
If you want to just pull up your screen, I can talk them through how that new process will work.
Okay, and so if you haven't had a chance to check in yet, please do that by region. I'll start from this other side. All right, here we go. Okay.
Alrighty, so we have a new re-engagement process that we will have coming out soon. See, it's not on production quite yet.
I'm in test.
Correct?
I'm in test.
Okay.
Correct.
So we'll have this out on production sometime next week. This new re-engagement process is being utilized because during what we've learned from the current re-engagement process is that just because we've identified a customer we want to attempt to re-engage doesn't necessarily mean we'll always end up re-engaging them, because when you meet with them, you could determine that they're no longer SNAP eligible, maybe they're exempt and no longer want to participate, or maybe they prefer to just be in JPP. With the current re-engagement option, we're clearing out statuses before determining that. So the way this new re-engagement option will work will still be very similar to the process you are all very used to. You'll still come in to the customer once you've identified they need to be re-engaged, and you'll update their eligibility status. So you'll click the Update SNAP Eligibility, and you're going to be presented with a pending re-engagement option. Epic Customer Pending Re-engagement. So you'll select that option.
You're going to be updated. You're going to be prompted to enter a case note. And it says here, please include the date of the re-engagement appointment with DHS.
So you're going to update that status, and then you're going to input a case note with the date that that customer is either going to meet with you in person or over the phone if you're doing it over the phone. That way the CBO has a general idea of when they can expect the customer back. So if you're not meeting with them for 2 weeks, you'd put that in there. And then if you're meeting with them earlier, the CBO can know that they may have a customer coming to them sooner rather than later. So you'll identify the date the customer will be meeting with you for you to determine if they are still EPIC eligible and can be re-engaged. And then you'll add that case note. After you do this, it is not going to trigger anything in the system. The customer will still be marked as enrolled. They'll still have their current eligibility status of ineligible until after you meet with them, but you'll notice Dee had highlighted underneath it, it says pending re-engagement. And they'll also keep their completion status if they had been exited for any reason. So now it is July 25th. We're meeting with the customer to determine if they are able to be re-engaged. So once you know their current eligibility status, you're going to click the Update SNAP Eligibility Status again. And then you're going to pick from the list of options for that customer. So you still have the option to select eligible, ineligible, receiving TANF, exempt, exempt and doesn't want to participate, and in traditional SNAP. For customers who are eligible and customers who are eligible and exempt and want to participate, they will be triggered for re-engagement. So if we select eligible on this customer, we've determined they're eligible. We're going to get them sent back to the CBO. We're going to click Update. And that's going to update that status to a customer of SNAP eligible. And you're going to get that next green box that's going to say re-engagement has been triggered for this customer. Please schedule an appointment with the CBO and provide a 2151 to the customer. So this is when the the enrollment status and the completion status will be cleared out for the customer. So you can see now, if you can open the training program enrollment piece. This customer is going to be triggered to mark as not enrolled, so we're going to unenroll these customers. And we're still working out some stuff on tests, but they'll be marked as not enrolled. And their completion status will be reset back to in progress so that the CBO can reassess them and determine if they're still eligible for the same program they were in. Maybe they need to go back into like a remedial program. They can reset that customer based on the re-engagement information. If we were to have selected an ineligible status during our meeting with the customer instead of eligible, nothing would have happened to the customer and their EPIC profile. They would have stayed wherever they would have been if they, wherever they would have been prior to you meeting with them. So if you had them marked as ineligible, you called them back in, determined they were still ineligible and could not be re-engaged, and the CBO had already exited them as did not complete with the completion reason of SNAP ineligible, they're still going to stay in that same row on the dashboard. They're not going to move up to needing an appointment scheduled. You won't have to worry about doing anything with them. It'll only trigger for customers who get a status of eligible or eligible and exempt after selecting the re-engagement option.
Yeah, and then they also still need to schedule the appointment.
Yes.
Here. So you do that from here. And you schedule an appointment, but this particular agency that we're working with for this customer doesn't have any appointments scheduled. But we have instructed all of the currently participating agencies to have appointments scheduled through December. And then you would need to schedule this customer, because they're being re-engaged, for a non-new cohort. So it should not say new cohort customer if there is a differentiation between the appointments. And then you would give them the 2151 that is produced because of the new appointment. Good?
I think so. Does anybody have any questions on this new re-engagement status? All righty. Well, we can move on to our next agenda item then.
All right, and that would be new status. Okay. So we have, at one point in time, we had this status available. I'm going to go back to the list that I had before and pick a new customer. I'm going to go to Richard Anthony. And this customer has come in to me as a DHS caseworker and has said, I've got this medical exemption, here's my form, I just really don't want to participate anymore. So the customer is eligible, exempt, and no longer wishes to participate. So in that situation, you go to the update the status, and you would select this option here, SNAP eligible, exempt, and no longer wants to participate. This will trigger an automatic. What we need to do with this is, can you all still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What this will trigger is you will say customer presented, I think it's the 1831 form for medical exemption and no longer wishes to participate. What this will do then, you would, if there's more explanation than you needed, that's fine. If the customer was already voluntary, you would just change the status. So this will help those of you who are in the voluntary areas to mark these customers that don't show up for the intake orientation with the CBO, who are referral rejected because of some medical reason, or in the appointments, if you're meeting with the customer and somebody doesn't want to participate, you can still mark them with this reason. They will move out of the active rows. It will alert the CBO to change the status exemption on the customer to did not complete, dropped out of program. They'll complete the paperwork, and then that customer is done. It does not prevent the customer from being able to be re-engaged, which is what we just talked about. That if they wanted to come back, you could just mark them as pending re-engagement. Any questions? All right. So I'm going to do a real quick All right, so now I've got 16 people on the call. I need 16 answers. Well, 15 because one of them is from Instituto. So Nydia, you don't have to do that. All right, I need 2 more. Does what we just talked about with the new status make sense?
So Dee, is this with all new statuses or just specific new statuses?
This is available for any customer because at any point in time they could go into DHS and present a medical exemption, or they have to now become the primary caretaker. And they may have been doing really well in their program, and they're welcome to stay and continue on an exempt status, but this is in the event that the customer needs to move out of the program.
Awesome.
Erica, this is for anyone. So any of your existing customers that were not part of the new cohort, or any new customers. So yeah. Okay. So now we're going to move on to we talked about new status, and now we're going to go on to Instituto for their presentation. And Olivia, if you could open up Nydia's microphone. Her last 4 digits are 8055.
I got her open.
Yay. So we're welcoming Nydia Mejia from Instituto del Progresso Latino, and she's going to tell you a little bit about the programs that we have available for our EPIC participants.
Good morning. How's everyone doing?
Well, they can't really answer you, Nydia. So.
Oh, okay. Alrighty, that makes sense. No problem. Well, happy Friday, by the way. But to begin with, we are offering a nursing program, Certified Nursing Assistant, which only takes 16 weeks. Classes are offered 2 days out of the week, morning and evening session. Space is limited with 16 students per session. We are also offering the RN program, which is an associate's in nursing, 2-year degree. But the first step of that, in order to get into that program, is becoming a certified nursing assistant. As of 2016, the state made that requirement. In addition, we're offering manufacturing, which focuses on the computerized numerical control machine, blueprint reading, measurement, and safety. And that course only takes 16 weeks. Classes are offered in the evening, 5:30 to 9:30, Monday through Thursday. We are also offering the retail program, which is a 16-week program in customer service, advanced customer service, and retail management. That training is offered for 16 weeks. Classes are offered in the evening, 5:30 to 9:30, Monday through Thursday. All of our training does include job placement assistance, as well as a case manager, financial coach, and tutoring if needed.
Great. So the healthcare one is during the days?
Yes, we have morning and evening sessions for those courses.
Oh, cool. And then the manufacturing program is evening classes?
Yes, Monday through Thursday, 5:30 to 9:30.
Cool. And then the retail one was evening classes, correct?
Correct. CMS Manufacturing, 5:30 to 9:30, Monday through Thursday.
Cool. And how long is the retail program again?
16 weeks?
And the manufacturing program is?
16 weeks.
And the nursing, the CNA?
CNA, 16 weeks.
So everything 16 weeks. All right.
Yes.
Do you have a rolling open enrollment? So if they start today, they can, or do you have a set start time?
Yes, we're looking at September, about the first week of September.
Okay. To start the program. So if any of your customers want to participate in any of these 3 programs, we need to get them going with Instituto before the beginning of September. And that would probably be the last session that we would be able to enroll them in for EPIC, because they will, that 16 weeks is, I don't think we can start another. When's your next session begin?
So that would be the next winter session, would be the next cohort. And I don't have the specific date for that, but we're looking at possibly December to January.
Okay, so if it starts in January, it would be too late. And if it doesn't start in the beginning of December, it would be too late as well. So, all right. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Nydia? Want to tell people, do you have particular businesses that you share the, so like you go out and do job development for, are there any of those kinds of businesses in the area for any of these programs?
As far as job placement?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. We have an employment specialist working with employers, so that way once our students are done with the training, we're able to refer them. But we also have a job readiness, which is actually going to help the participant with the do's and the don'ts and overall how to be successful in the interview.
All right. So, but you do help them find some jobs so that they can, okay.
Yes,
excellent.
Absolutely.
All right. And then as far as follow-up, EPIC is a 90-day follow-up, but do you offer any extended follow-up for any of your customers?
Yes, we do. So the first step of enrollment is we're going to want them to come in for an orientation session. And even though classes are not going to begin until September, we highly encourage them to complete the enrollment process as soon as possible so we can ensure that we have a seat reserved for them.
All right. All right. Okay. So I don't see anybody typing, so I don't think anybody has any questions for you. I want to thank you for joining us on the call this morning. And if you do have any questions, Nydia, would you like to type in that chat pod a phone number where they could reach you so that you could answer questions?
And possibly an email, too.
Sure.
All right, and we did have Catholic Charities scheduled for the meeting this morning, but she let me know that she had a last-minute staffing come up because their regular SNAP person is no longer with them, so she will not be joining us today. So thank you again, Nydia, for joining us, and thank you to everybody else for being on the call today. We will meet again on July 27th. I am going to stop the recording and close the call, and then David from Northwest, give me a call back and we will take a look at what you need to fix. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.